Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be taking a look at deliberately putting a Navigraph error into xPlane 12, specifically the 747-200, the classic. The reason is the newer aircraft, they know you've put the incorrect information in because they've got a GPS and they'll just error out. And so what I'm going to show you here using the Navigraph charts is the flight we're really going to be doing together with the quote fake position that we'll be putting in. And so it's going to be a very simple flight. If we zoom in here, we're here in northern England. We're going to be departing from Humberside Airport here, which rumour has it is one of the nearest airports to where I live. I will just mark that one down real quick. We'll add it to the route as our departure. Now this is for demonstration purposes only, but as I zoom out, look at this. Here's the rest of the UK. We'll be coming almost due west, ever so slightly to the south, and we'll be arriving at Manchester. Why? Well, for two reasons. One, it's very close, so we won't have to waste much time. But the second thing is, take a look at this. It's going to be our destination ad. We're not going to put in any other waypoints or anything like that. All that I'm interested here is, look at this. We've got the course, roughly 259 degrees, and the distance, roughly 70 nautical miles, point to point. Okay. What then? If we take a look at here, the other thing, both of our airports, and I'm just going to show you this very as quickly as I can. Hang on, where are we here on the charts? Both of the airports are north 53, I believe. Yeah, there we go. So if we take a look at the positions, again, these are the real world positions. We've got north 53 and change. That's for Humberside, and it's the exact same for Manchester Airport as well. Again, I just feel I've got to show this so that there's nobody can say anything, oh, the test wasn't done properly. So open charts here for Manchester, and here we go, the 10.9 page. And there we see it as well, north 53 and change. Okay, so when we get into the sim, here's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take the exact position that we have from Humberside. The only figure we're going to change is the very first one. And so again, where it says here, north 53, we're going to put in north 60. And again, because it's the Old-Skool INS systems, in theory, the 7.4 Classic will have no way of knowing that we put the wrong information in. There's no VOR, DME autocorrections like there is with the modern FMCs or the McDoos. Even the L97 or the LTN 92s had the ability to self-correct. Our system today does not. It's the old-school Civa INS. And so again, we'll put in north 60, then we'll go 34.4 west as is. You can think of the excuse why that's going to be repeated in triplicate across the cockpit, because we need to do it for the pilot, the first officer, and the flight engineer. Right, coming up north then. Let's carry on until we go all the way up to, here we go, north 60. And so you can see the aircraft should in theory think that we are going to start roughly where the... Hang on, let's just add this point to route here. In fact, let me just unload the flight entirely because it's going to screw everything up. And so what I'm going to show you now is, in theory, if the aircraft thinks that we're taking off from this particular point here and we're flying more or less due west for... sort of 70 miles or so. In theory, it should think due west. It was like 269 or 259, something like that. But just again, ballpark, it should think we'll be landing around there. And again, just ignore this distance. I see it's twice what it was. But just the idea is it should therefore think we're somewhere over there, rather than clearly if it's not simulated correctly, it will somehow know that we're at Humberside, and it will somehow therefore know we're landing at Manchester. In theory, the INS should tell us we're landing somewhere over here, because we started with the wrong information, we end it. And you know, they call it GIGO when it in computer terms, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So let's unload this. There was one more thing I wanted to show just before we begin, and that is, as well, the east-west may be off. And you think, well, why would the east-west be off if you only entered it incorrectly north and south? Well, here's why. If we take a look at the Navigraph, you can see here, the further north you go until you get to the pole, everything gets closer together. So if I was to pick these two particular points across Spain, and I'm just going to pick these two very deliberately once again, and let's add to route, and then I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to just make it real easy for myself, go all the way across to west 20. So we've gone from west 0 to west 20. And we'll mark that point in, add to route, add. Okay, so we've just got these 2 points in, and what I want to show you is the direct to, we can see here, is 919 nautical miles from this point here to this point here. So I'm going to unload. Now, the point is here, we're going from west 0 to west 20. So once again, let's unload this. Let's come further north and once again go from west 0, add to route, all the way over to west 20. There we go, add to it. Just depends what zoom you've got as to how many of these that you see. So don't think I'm missing anything out. It is there, west 20. Those with good eyes or big screen can see that. So we'll add that in. There we go. And so now if you look, direct to is only 602 nautical miles, even though we've still traveled 20 degrees around the Earth towards the west. And so again, it just clearly, the closer you are to the equator, the further that's going to be. That's the point I'm trying to make. And because we're mistyping our position further to the north, it's also something else I want to be looking out for. Therefore, does the Felis 7.4 Classic think, in inverted commas, that we are further over to the west than we really are, because it thinks, quote unquote, we are further to the north than we really are? I hope all of that makes sense. I'll see you in what will be just a sec for you while I go load up my sim. Alright, welcome to the Felis 747-200, the Classic. This is probably my favourite aircraft module of all time for all sims, any sims. I guess the only thing that really ever came too close to it, ironically, was another 747, was the old Queen of the Skies from PMDG, but unfortunately they only really make it, well, they don't make it anymore. They have it for sale for a sim that is no longer supported, an older version of Prepared 3D, a sim that's unfortunately dying. But alas, we do have this one. That's enough of that. So let's jump inside. I will spare you some of the startup. The only thing I want to show you on the options, in fact, first off, let's go down here so that we see we are operating on the Civas. We've got 1, 2, and 3 back there. Coming over here to the tablet, if we come to the options, a couple of options here with regards to it. We've got INS Align, we've got real or fast. I'm going to use real. Again, we're trying to do this as real as possible. You can see their nav system is using the Civa. And last but not least, the INS source. We've got two options, real or quote sim GPS. Now, I'm not sure if this option affects the Civa. I certainly know it affects the LTN 92. What it basically saying is, are we going to simulate the INS within the aircraft versus just take where the aircraft actually is within the sim? Which is, of course, in theory, if we want to be able to put the wrong information in, it needs to be simulated, because if it knows, in inverted commas, where the aircraft is, clearly it's not going to show us anything other than where we are all the time. And so with that said and done, I'm going to come over to the flight engineer's channel seat. Too much YouTube. Turn the battery on. Standby power on and make a start. So I'll bring you back at key points. While I'm waiting for the APU to start, one other thing I should have just mentioned right brief is we're starting on the runway here for no other reason than to save time. Runway 20 at Humberside. It is a bit short for a 747, so we will be taking off light. And the other thing to mention is that the sky is clear. I've cancelled out, deleted all the weather because I don't want there to be anything. Specifically, it's the winds that I'm concerned about. I want there to be nothing whatsoever, so the INS has got the best possible chance to either be correct or to screw up or nothing at all. Sounds like the APU's ready, so let's go on in and carry on. Back to the flight engineers. Bleed open. He says it's ready. Lead open. I know why it's not working. Somebody's saying, yeah, because you didn't put the power on first. Power left side, there we go. Power right side, there we go. Now we open the bleed, there we go. Now we've got power to the duct pressure meter. Turn the engines, we'll turn all the packs on half. Recirc valve 1. Come upstairs, we're going to cool the packs down just a tad. Got 5 separate packs, so we want the trim air on for that. We'll put bus 1 on so I can have a nice cup of coffee. And I will see you when we are ready. I'll tell you what, actually, let me just show you this bit, because we are now ready to at least put power in. Pay note to these little needles here. Disarm those lights. So the essential 1 and 2. Notice these needles here, and this one, now it's straight. And so this time I'm going to go into a line. Normally you'd go straight into nav, but for the purposes of this video, so we can all sort of see exactly what's going on, I'm going to go into nav. 1, 2, and 3. I was wondering, why do I go 1 and then 2 on the right and then 3 in the middle? Why is it not 1, 2, 3? It's because it's pilot, first officer, and then flight engineer. And they've kept that order to this day, even though we no longer have such thing as a flight engineer. At least not for any aircraft built in the last, I don't know, 40 years or thereabouts. Either way, I still think having 3 sets of eyes in the cockpit instead of 2, even though it's all been replaced by computers, was better. But alas, those who are in charge of the financial purse strings of airlines do not agree. Right, let's have a little look at the fuel. How are we doing? We've got loads of fuel. What's this? 60,000 pounds in the center tank. We've got 44. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's far too much. I am going to, let's lighten the load a little bit for the purposes of this demo. And again, I realize you don't really need to be seeing this, but let's just go to like 70,000 pounds. We'll put a bit of payload on. We'll just write that Insta, and there we go. Instant refuel. No messing around today. We just want to do this nice and quick. Now, with regards to aligning the system, this is where it's really at. So we've put the top into a line. And so these old school systems, they don't just start doing it. They actually wait for you to put the position in. And we have to fill it in triplicate. I am going to do it exactly the same in each one. But to save you time, I'm only going to show you the first one. So if I bring over my Navigraph menu, just so that we don't get head twisted, airport page, just like before, EGNJ for Umberside, airport 109, and there you see we are runway 20. I'm just going to pinch the coordinates from up here. And again, there's no GPS, there's no VOR DME, none of that stuff in this. So in theory, if we get it wrong, which we will, we're going to mistype north 53 to north 60. So north 60, and then everything else as is. 344. Okay. West side 211. There we go. West 211. Okay, so there we go. That is now correct. And I don't know why we've gotten an oversight there, but we have. I'm going to carry on with this now. All right, just finishing putting our position in the last one. North 6344, west 021. Okay, insert. Right, that is all in. As we know, it's a direct to Manchester. Now look at this. It does by default have a waypoint from 0 to 1. And if we take a look at position, if we come over to the waypoint page here, we can see waypoint 0 is our current position that we've just typed in. Waypoint 1 clearly hasn't been typed in yet, and I'm in two minds as to whether to put. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it in on the flight engineers panel only. The other two I'm going to leave blank. We'll see if it makes any difference, because these systems do run independently and you can screw one up and not the other. So with that in mind, let's just load up Manchester just to get the position, and I will enter Manchester incorrect. Let me just say that, rephrase that. I will enter Manchester Airport's position in properly. But I was going to say I'm entering it in correctly. It also sounds like I'm going to be entering it in incorrectly. Some of you, I'm sure, thinking, what is he on about? And somebody else thinking, yeah, I got it the first time you said it. Just get on with the video. Apologies if that's you. All right, so North 53, 212. What? Umberside 211 what? I don't know. Anyway, north 53212, enter, and then west side 002 165, enter. So this will just be a direct 201. The others we haven't bothered putting information in. We'll see what difference that makes. We'll come back to the status page. We see this is slowly counting down. Clear out the caution there. And I'll start lighting up the aircraft now. And let's have a little look up here. And once we get these ready lights on, so once the system is aligned or thinks it's aligned or whatever you want to call it, we should get 3 greens. I'll bring you back when that happens, or if it don't, or whatever. I'll see you in a minute either way. By the way, as I record this, it is Thursday the 17th of August 2023. We have 128 subscribers now on the channel, and unfortunately, we can't squawk the 8, so I'm always going to round it down, and so let's squawk 1027. So if you do want to help push us up so we can start squawking 130 or more, do help subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep going. Same with the flight numbers. Unfortunately, without an FMC, we don't have anywhere to enter our flight number. But we would be flight today, internet flight rules, flight 128. We're still waiting for the line here to take place. Taking a look down here, we've still got ourselves a code 75 coming up top. Nav still not ready. And just so that you've got a little idea on how long we've been waiting for, in fact, there's the time down there. Currently 10:52, that is Zulu time, so it's 11:52 local. I'll bring you back in a couple of minutes. 2 minutes later, we are still in align mode, and I'm beginning to wonder or question, now 3 minutes further, I'm beginning to wonder or question if the thing just will not align because I put the incorrect information in. Beginning to wonder. Well, seeing as it doesn't seem to be aligning, one thing that I can show you which is of interest here, if we come to the distance/time from 0 to 1, we can see it's 438 nautical miles between the 2 points. Well, as we know in real life, between Humberside and Manchester, for those that saw the very beginning, is about 70 nautical miles point to point. So with our incorrect point ways off north of the Scottish mainland, all the way to what was the correct position for Manchester, we can see is about 438 miles, which stands to reason. So at least the system has inputted the incorrect information as well as the correct information. It's taken the distance between the two and it has given us a correct distance. Clearly, because we're not moving, the time is going to be off as well, which is what we'd expect. Yeah, so the position north 60, the waypoint north 53. And if we come back to the status, just locked on code 0/75. And if we come up top, ready light does not seem to be coming on. So if I was to just force these over, I'll say force, put these into nav mode, no change on the code. One thing I am going to do, let's just see what happens if we start moving the aircraft. So we've got here the track as well as the ground speed. INS somehow thinks we're pointing 202 degrees, which is what we are pointing in. So we'll start moving the aircraft. And if this system is quote-unquote working, we should see a ground speed indication, otherwise just an error. So I'll start the aircraft up, and then we'll see what happens there. So hacks off. I will save you the time because it's quite laborious. I'll
Ready
just
to start the engines.
Just get one of them. Let's go for 3.
Ready for engine start. Starting engine 3. Start of Helve open.
And so there you go. So we got one of them going. I'll bring you back when they're all up and running. Tell you what, booster pumps might help.
20% and 2.
got gravity feeding anyway, but regardless, you know, someone's going to say something if we don't. Let's put fuel on into 3.
Light up.
And we've got a good start. Engineer says so, and
Starter off.
our panel up front says so too. All right, so I'd like to go just, you know, to save
Starting
time.
Engine 1. Start of valve open.
We can use the
Starting engine
APU bleed together with
Start of
engine
valve
3 bleed and do a 3
Starting
engine
engine
start.
4. Start of valve open.
Can't even do a dual engine start until then, but there is that.
20% and 2.
All right, here we go. Fuel in on 1,
Light
fuel
up.
in on 2, fuel
Fuel
in
on.
on 4.
Fuel
Look at them
on.
all go.
Light up.
Insta start.
Starter off.
I'm not
off.
sure if that could really be done, but it certainly can when I'm flying it here. All right, we're not going to mess around with takeoff speeds or
Engine
anything
stabilized.
like that. We'll just put all the lights on, strobe, wing lights on, and I am going to change the power over now to the engines, so let's close 1, 2, 3, 4. Close the breaker. APU bleed can disappear. With that, 3, 2, 1, APU can stop or spin itself out. We'll get the packs back on. Recircs 1 through 4, gaspers on as well. All of that's good. We'll get the galley on 1 through 4. The fridges 1, 2, 3. The galley fans and stuff will set to automatic. All of this stuff is all good to go. We'll set the hydraulics over here to automatic as well in case we lose an engine. And then last but not least, where is it? Aft cargo heat to normal. There we go. All right, we are now good to go. And again, we're not going to mess around with respeeds. Let's do away with the parking brake off. Flaps 1, 2, 5, 10.
Flaps 10.
And let's make a move. I realize we've got no takeoff speeds or anything here. We're just seeing how we go. So we are moving there. And look at this. We do have measured speed here. 202 on the heading. We're doing 7 knots ground speed. That is not reflected on the captain's primary display though. So it is interesting that. And what about the time? Oh yeah, this is knots. We didn't put the coordinates in here, so this is 3,600 miles to lat long 00. What about this one here? 438 miles, 999 minutes. So if we get a little bit of speed on, does that figure change? Well, let's find out. Let's just go for the togas. So over here, set this to EPAs. Take off dry. We're not going to derate it. We're not going to bother with the radar because there is none. Let's go for it.
Stabilized.
We've got a takeoff warning. I'm just going to reduce that. And again, I don't know whether that's because we've got no V speeds or exactly what's going on.
80 knots.
Again, if I wanted to do it by the book, the video would be 2 or 3 times as long. There's just nothing to be gained there. Let's rotate. She's feeling pretty light. She went real nice. Give her a little kick on the rudder, just a little kick, and it really got her going. Yeah, a little kick on the rudder as well to straighten out. She's very, very close to crossover. Anyway, here we go. I just realized the auto throttle, the engines weren't quite synced up, but there we go. Let's come back to continuous and see what we've got here. So I'm going to set that to man just so that we're climbing. Flaps 5. Let's continue bringing the flaps in. Or the gear lever off. Just tell you what. Autopilot on. Vertical speeds. And we'll reduce it. But so that we climb. Heading, by the way, just... It was 259 degrees direct to Manchester. Let's give it a couple more. Yeah, so look at this. Look at this. It is calculating this. So it thinks because so it's like half working, half not. It thinks it was 438 miles from where we took off to Manchester, which is correct based on the fact we put the wrong information in. Therefore, it also thinks we're doing, well, at this moment in time, 240 odd knots. We were accelerating on such and such a heading. Therefore, it thinks, based on the time, we're going to get there in about 100 minutes, and that's going to continue to drop away as we continue to accelerate. Let's go flaps in entirely now.
Flaps up.
Taking a look at the position. So position is our current position versus, you know, waypoint position, which clearly can change. So as you can see, this thing is not registering a change in our position. So it is not working. I guess I didn't put the probe heats on either. Let's just do that to get rid of the caution. And so there is no... It's half working, half not, but there's no error message. And I would expect there to be at least one caution light somewhere to let me know that the nav system is not working correctly. Clearly anybody looking at it can see that, well, these numbers aren't changing and we're definitely flying, so something about it is not right. Let's go ahead for a speed or a level change, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, so it's weird that the position isn't working, yet it knows it's moving at this speed on this heading, and distance time. Again, this one's set to 0 lat long. It reckons it's going to take us 605 minutes to get there. This one based on Manchester. Now, what would be interesting is if we follow its suggested heading. So it's basically the same. We're 72 degrees too far to the right, which makes sense, because if I can just tab us over into Navigraph, that is, of course, assuming I'm still running it. Yeah, here we go. If we really were over there and we are currently flying on a heading roughly in this direction here, what my mouse is showing, then yeah, we are ways too far to the right. We need to be turning down this way to head direct towards Manchester. So it's not quite 90 degrees, but it's certainly most of the way there. So if we do just jump back into the sim real quick, that makes sense that we need a 72 degree turn to the left, or said another way, we're 72 degrees too far to the right. And so if I make this correction here to about something like this, the packs are running. I forgot to turn those off for takeoff, but again, we're not really worried about the procedures today. Let's go ahead, open the reserves 1 and 4 to fill into the main tanks 1 and 4. That would be embarrassing. I mean, look at these for fuel guzzling, man. You can imagine what these were like on the takeoff when they're spinning around like this just on the climb. And there's 4 of them. Let's just assume that we're going to climb up to 35,000 for today. And so, yeah, as we continue the left turn, look at this. This is correcting. So it's now saying we're this many 2 degrees too far to the right. And you can see they are tumbling away as we continue our left-hand turn. We'll see if we can get that exact. You see, the time's ticking away. I'm just wondering, is the distance ticking away? 4:38. And so it definitely measuring speed, but it doesn't seem to be updating our location at all. So the more we accelerate, the more the time drops. But, you know, the whole speed distance divided by time thing just doesn't seem to be where I would suspect it should be. Put the tar out on. Go on, if you say you're going to squawk, squawk. Three degrees too far to the right, so let's correct that. So we'll go 189. Now 2 degrees. 1. And so according to this now we are on course by There we go. So we're bang on now, but again, we're not updating the distance. So there you go. It's in terms of the way that we should be heading. So here's the bottom line summary. In terms of the way that the aircraft thinks it should be heading to get from the incorrect position we put in towards the correct position, definitely makes sense. If you take a look at this, from Humberside, as we know, should be 260, let's call it, direct to Manchester. It's giving us a heading of 189. Had we, however, begun in the very northern tip of Scotland, as we told it should be, it's giving us the correct heading to fly. It's also giving us the correct distance, as well as the correct estimated time of arrival. It's working insofar as it's giving us, where are we here? Ground speed, in this case 427 knots, as well as our true track. So our heading with corrections for wind and so forth. And so it's like it's working 3/4, but the quarter is not working, and that quarter that is not working, as best I can tell, is that the distance remaining to fly, for whatever reason, is not counting down, and I can only suspect that's because despite knowing where we took off from and how fast and what heading, it is not adjusting for our position. And I don't know, but I can only assume that is because we put the incorrect information in and the simulator has run into some kind of limitation that is preventing it from updating this position, because there is no other way for the sim to be checking in, or if this was real aircraft anyway, there's no way that this system would know that we put the correct information in or not. There is no way of knowing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found that one useful and informative, even though it perhaps wasn't the result that I was hoping for. And until next time, wherever in the world you may be, from somewhere over the UK in the 7.4 Classic, take care. Bye-bye. See ya.